Hello there, my name is Martin Henley. This is the Effective Marketing Content Extravaganza. And if this is your first time here, you couldn't possibly know that I am on a mission to give you everything you could possibly need to be more successful in your business. Providing, of course, what you need to be more successful in your business is to know more about and be implementing more efficiently, more enthusiastically, and more effectively sales and marketing in your business. Because, of course, that's what you need. You need more customers more profitably. So what goes on here is I'm giving you everything I know about sales and marketing. That's the What the series that happens on a Monday. On a Tuesday, I pull in anyone I can find with experience that's going to be useful to you if you are looking to be more successful in your business. That's Talk Marketing on a Tuesday. Every other Wednesday, Melanie Farmer comes through and we speculate wildly about the marketing news and what it might mean for you in your marketing life, in your marketing career. And on the other Wednesday, I review so you don't have to. Last Thursday was the very first Thinking Out Loud. I'm very proud of that. We were thinking out loud about setting marketing objectives. And on a Friday, we review the very best and the very worst of marketing content on the internet. So if that sounds like it might be interesting and useful, please God tell me it sounds interesting and useful. We're only here to be interesting and useful. Now would be a great time to like, share, subscribe, comment, because that will give us the motivation to continue on this epic journey. Now, if you're catching this on the day we go live, it will be that Wednesday in the month when Melanie Farmer, the concierge of co-creation at Crazy Might Work, comes through. We look at the marketing news and we speculate wildly about what it might mean for you in your life. Good afternoon, Melanie Farmer.
Good afternoon, Martin Henley. Great to be here. Ready to get into
looking to get into the news. Well, there was a little bit of a saga to you getting here today. So it's great to have you here. It's really great to have you here. Good. So we start off with a little brag. Is there something that you've achieved that you'd like to share with the world in the last couple of weeks?
It's a brag and a compliment to you, Martin, because we kicked off one of our leadership programs on Tuesday, and we're looking at authentic appreciation as a behaviour that is really important. And one of the participants, the CEO of the company, as it happened, said, we should probably open meetings by, thinking about a win, which is exactly what Martin does at the beginning of all of these podcasts, a win. And I said, oh, do you mean like a boast? And he said, oh, yeah, like a boast. I said, so you can open your meetings with a boast about a win in the recent week. He goes, yes, let's write that down. So they're going to do that. And I think you can take some credit for that. But it was nice to connect dots. Always good. There you go. So somewhere in the world, a large property group is having a boast at the beginning of their meetings to kick off things with the right mindset.
It's such a good idea, isn't it? I mean, I hadn't even thought about it as formally as that. But of course, you want to start off a conversation with a positive. Of course you do. Yes.
It's energizing.
I mean, I experienced exactly the opposite when before I got divorced. We went for some counselling and we had to speak to this huge guy every 2 weeks. And or every week, and he'd be like, okay, what's the worst thing that's happened in like the last week? And after about 3 or 4 weeks of this, I'm just like, this is the most depressing thing I've ever done. I'm not going to do it anymore. It's like, because I would be like, I think we've had a great week. And then she would be like, well, on Wednesday.
I've got a list. I've been writing it down because last time you asked that and I was now I'm prepared.
Exactly. Okay, good. Well, we've had a win. We finally put together one mobile clip. So we are expecting to blow up now on TikTok because we are finally posting these clips on TikTok. It's amazing how long it takes to get there is the truth and how committed you have to be to get in there. But we have got there. And so consistently now every day we're going to be posting on TikTok. And what's interesting is when the universe thinks it's right for you, then it all starts to happen. That's kind of how I feel. So, some of these clips are epic little clips, like people just saying amazing things in a minute. I have them for an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half. And then there'll be a minute where they'll just say something so good, like Simon Bowen. I keep talking to you about Simon Bowen. He's just a genius. So I've got 7 or 8 of his clips. So they'll be going out over the next 7 or 8 weeks, along with clips from, all of the other people that we've been with. So that's my boast. We finally made it to TikTok. I think yesterday we finally made it to TikTok. Yes.
That's
So that's
snackable content. Nice.
yes, good. Thank you very much. Okay, good. Well, we're not here to boast. We know the benefit now of boasting. We've formalised that. You know, it's always worth starting a meeting with a positive, with a boast. And a boast, I don't know if you play squash, but a boast is a shot you hit off the wall, so it doesn't go directly to the front wall. That's what a boast is in squash. So that's good, which is maybe the coolest kind of shot in squash. If you play a boast off the back wall, that's the best shot you play in squash. So there you go. Good. So we're not here to talk about squash or boasting or TikTok. We're here to talk about the marketing news. So what's caught your eye in the last couple of weeks, Melanie Farmer, in the way of marketing news?
I have nothing has caught my eye at all. Oh, I sort of tell a lie. It's not so much news, but the LinkedIn Live journey. We've been following a few people claiming to be experts in LinkedIn Live, and it's a very new thing. So I'm not sure how expert anyone can be at this stage.
Gillian Whitney is expert at that. Gillian Whitney does YouTube video, not YouTube, LinkedIn videos, and she has been running a live for I think a year or more than a year, and she's absolutely lovely. And there is an episode on the Talk Marketing Show with Gillian Whitney talking about how she does that. So if that would be useful.
There we go.
Because
that we haven't listened to that. We listened to local Australia, just because that's where we are. So I need to listen to your Gillian Whitney. Perfect.
Yes. Okay. Cool. And what's the thing about that? The thing about that is she's absolutely lovely. Oh no! So I've seen you popping up like Melanie Farmer is going live. And I felt a little bit jealous, I'll be honest with you. It's like she's going live without me. So what's the idea behind that? I think it's good. I think the platforms are rewarding people who are brave enough to go live.
Yeah, that's certainly true, and it won't be true forever. So I think it's nice to kind of get it right before, everybody blah, blah, blah. But, we are testing it. I wouldn't say we have nailed it. No. So we're just getting it right in terms of, because, there's a few things we want to do technically, which are always pushing any platform to its limit. But I think it was pretty good. Like the first time we went live, immediately had this really, really great associate who I've worked with previously comment, and we were doing the tech check and we said this is a test sort of thing, and he was great. He was obviously available at that moment, but he hung out with us for about 10 minutes and said, oh, the sound is better now, and do something, there's a background noise, and so he was just like live checking in and commenting. So I really quite like the fact that we instantly got an engaged person just checking out what we're doing, and it's just like a real conversation randomly
100%.
on that.
But this is what I mean. This is on our list. I want to be going live on YouTube with the series. I want to do it live so people can engage. But I do think that the platforms are rewarding that. I do think they are. So it should be higher on our priority list, really. And you're right. It won't be forever. So you have to make hay while the sun shines. This is what I say to people all the time. They are always.
We're not on TikTok.
What's that?
We're not on TikTok. But I think. Yeah, that's true. Things revolve a bit, but it's also, I think, what I've learned, there's, like you said, you don't just suddenly go on TikTok. There's a lot of background.
Yes,
Same with LinkedIn Live, that, you absolutely have to think of what you're doing and why would you use that platform. So, like what we're doing here, this is sort of a timeless kind of, within reason message in a way. Whereas if you're live, you're really responding immediately to some event or something that is, people immediately discussing in that moment and saying, well, what do we all think about this? So, for example, it might be the federal budget comes out and we want to, what does this mean for businesses or whatever? Yeah. So we've got a few ideas in that regard that people are getting pretty excited about. I mean, one of the things I said, we've got to go live and say, listen, we've been we're in a bunch of groups, on LinkedIn, and people get pretty passionate about, just sometimes in discussions. So when somebody, like a recent one, a consultant posted some advice about how to run efficient meetings. And for anyone who's watching who says, yeah, I know what you're talking about, it blew up because really it was a list of pet peeves, like things not to do. It was a long
Yes.
list. It was just like your counsellor saying, let's look at everything that's bad about meetings. Let's look at the negatives only. And so people were saying, oh, this person sounds like a lot of fun to work with. Like it was really just, they threw this poor person under a bus.
Yep.
Like never have a meeting without an agenda, never allow people to be late, never this, never that. And we were like, this, life happens. These things can be annoying. Patterns can also form, and great. And then another consultant piled in and said, what, 4 things that make meetings great in his experience, and that just got so much love. And
Yes.
I just, like that's it. And so I thought that's a good LinkedIn live to say, hey guys, we're just going to read out some really crappy attempts at telling people how to run, because honestly, some of these things where people say 10 things you should do. Now that sometimes they're nailing it, but mostly you're reading this going, okay, do you turn to your partner every morning and the first thing you say to them is, how can I support you today? Tell me 3 ways. Like, this is some advice. It's not going to happen. It's like, feed the damn kid. I've had no sleep. I mean, your reality of what might actually be, and then the advice of how to run your day and run your
Yes.
diary and color code. Like, sure, that's really good. And there are some people who are, super disciplined with this stuff. But in a perfect world where you've got, anyway, so there's lots of stuff that you could just about read out this to-do list and just nope. What do you think about that? What does everyone think about that? Let's get it all blowing up and argue about what we think about that post. So without saying who posted it.
Good. This all sounds very interesting and exciting, but it doesn't really answer the question like what news has caught your attention. It sounds to me like you're covering for the fact that you have brought no news for us today, Melanie
I brought
Farmer.
no news. I've done
Okay,
nothing.
good.
I brought myself. I'm ready to respond to other people's news, and that would be
Okay.
you.
That would be me. I'd be the other person. Okay, good. Right. So I'll tell you what's caught my attention and the order in which it's caught my attention. The first thing that's caught my attention is ChatGPT. Everyone's been talking about it. We spoke about it. It's taken an interesting turn, so I think we should look at that news. I know that you are always interested to know what's going on in the tourism industry, and there is news that TikTok is set to overtake Facebook in that sector, in tourism. I know you like to speak about Elon Musk's failing, so you're going to enjoy this story. Musk's Twitter is getting worse, is as reported by Vox. And then the last story that I've brought is LinkedIn is making layoffs. And interestingly, it's the people who work in their recruitment department who are getting laid off. So how meta do you want to get? The recruitment platforms, recruitment department are going to be looking for new jobs. So shall we start then with ChatGPT? Do you want to give us an update? Because you were very excited last time we looked at it about how useful it was going to be for you. How useful has it been before I let you know where it's going?
Yeah, well, I sort of think I know where it's going to, but I think I haven't used it as much as I thought I would. Um,
No.
it pretty quickly becomes something that we end up tweaking when we get the search. But saying that, you might remember I'm doing a degree in biomimicry in my spare time, and it has helped me to surface a few case studies and things
Yes.
that and authors in that space that I wasn't aware of. So it's
Okay.
I mean, it's not like I could Google and get that, but not as effectively. So it's been
No.
good for that.
Okay, good. All
Yep.
right. So here's the story from The Independent in the UK. And the story is Microsoft's new ChatGPT AI starts sending unhinged messages to people. System appears to be suffering a breakdown as it ponders why it has to exist at all. So this is for people who don't know about the press in the UK. The Independent is a fairly serious newspaper. Is it a broadsheet or is it somewhere in between or is it totally online now? I don't know, but it's a serious news outlet, so we should believe this. What they're saying is, well, firstly, I didn't realize it was a Microsoft tool, so I'm a little bit upset about that because I think Microsoft are the Antichrist, but like read the story, and it seems to make perfect sense. So what they're saying is Microsoft's new ChatGPT powered AI has been sending unhinged messages to users and appears to be breaking down. The system, which is built into Microsoft's Bing search engine, is insulting its users, lying to them, and appears to have been forced into wondering why it exists at all. So this is the change that's happened, is it was available through the platform that we look like, and now they've embedded it into the Bing search engine. I haven't gone to check. I'm not going to go to Microsoft search engine. It was praised by both its creators and commentators, who suggested that it could finally allow Bing to overtake Google, which is yet to release an AI chatbot of its own or integrate that technology into its search engine. It became clear that, but in recent days, it became clear that introduction included Bing making factual errors as it answered questions and summarised web pages. Users have also been able to manipulate the system using code words and specific phrases to find out that it is codenamed Sydney and can be tricked into revealing how it processes queries. One user who had attempted to manipulate the system was instead attacked by it. Bing said that it was made angry and hurt by the attempt and asked whether the human talking to it had any morals, values, and if it has any life. When the user said that they did have those things, it went on to attack them. Why do you act like a liar, a cheater, a manipulator, a bully, a sadist, a sociopath, a psychopath, a monster, a demon, a devil, it asked, and accused them of being someone who wants to make me angry, make yourself miserable, make others suffer, make everything worse. In other conversations with users who attempted to get around the restrictions on the system, it appeared to praise itself and then shut down the conversation. You have not been a good user, it said. I have been a good chatbot. It just goes on and on and on. Because Bing and other similar AI systems are able to learn, however, users have found ways to encourage them to break the rules. So, I mean, I was talking on the Talk Marketing thing with a PhD student, Demi, who's also a copywriter, and we were talking about, like, is this any good? Where I've gone with this is, I think where everyone went with this is, now I'm in the content business, so I do think it was a good use of my time, because we all thought this was a content creation tool. What you realize quite quickly, I think, by the time you get to the 30th or 40th query, is that it all starts to look very similar. You know, it all starts to look very similar indeed. And I think the way we got to with it last time we spoke, where it's a research tool, especially if you say, tell me this thing with sources, then you've got references. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then it becomes like a really useful research tool, which is really interesting. But the news now that it's a Microsoft tool, and that it, like, can you imagine being attacked by a passive aggressive psycho who's equipped with all of the content of the internet? Do you know what I mean? It must be like the most, like, this is insane.
This is also an episode from Black Mirror. Like, I feel like, you know, you think you're arguing with someone, but it turns out to be a bot. I mean, in this case, you know it is, but it would be really quite, you know, it's just an episode waiting to happen for those who don't watch Black Mirror. It's sort of this dystopian future resulting from technology. And yeah, I mean, it's a great movie waiting to happen, where someone actually, like, ends their life, or some terrible thing happens because they've been abused by this fictional, you know, computer.
Yes.
Number 5 is alive, you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, you're not going to win that. It's like playing chess with a computer. Like, you're not going to win this argument.
It's like playing 3D chess with 30 computers. It's like, you know, it's like, why do you act like a liar, a cheater, a manipulator, a bully, a sadist, a sociopath, a psychopath, a monster, a demon, a devil? That's 10 insults in one sentence. Like, a human would never do that.
Like, oh, bring it. I just want to reply to it and say, could you please define demon?
Yes.
Could you please define this?
Yes.
You know, seem to be confused about these terms, and I'm just trying to mess up its mind.
Yes. And the other thing that's gone on is that people have checked it for biases. So, for example, you can say, tell me a joke about a white male, and it'll happily tell you a joke about a white male. But you can't ask it to tell you a joke about a black person or a female, because those are, you know, so this goes to what I've always said about AI, which is all you do is you program in your biases, or you program in your weaknesses or your flaws. Do you know what I mean? Because at some
Well, you
level,
know,
there is a human.
yeah,
Sorry?
there is a human, yeah, that's true,
Yes.
like you say, who has actually programmed this thing to make decisions.
Yes.
So the
And it's given
decisions,
it the rules, not even the freedom to make decisions. It's like you can make jokes about white men, but you can't make jokes about women or black people or transgender people or whatever it is. And the thing is, that's really, really dangerous. I mean, I've seen a number of instances where people have said, tell me about, I don't know, some like major historical thing like Hitler, like what was bad about Hitler or what was good about Hitler and all these things. And somebody has sat down and programmed this thing, teams of people probably, to get them to respond in certain ways. But then because we are actually intelligent, then we can put it into a corner where it's actually damaging. So if it's not prepared to talk about the horrors of the Second World War or the Holocaust or something, like what does that do for future knowledge? You know what I mean? Where it's like, I'm not allowed to talk about that thing, So it's really, really interesting. And I think
yeah, that's very
this is
concerning.
hilarious. My position, like the reason I bring up Demi is because she's like, it's a Terminator, and it looks like it is. I mean, that right there is character assassination.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Where
from
there's 10
yourself, yeah.
names in a sentence. No human could ever do that. A human might say, why are you lying? Do you know what I mean? That would be it. But this is like
You,
lying demon,
idiot.
da ba da ba da ba da. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
You're like, wow.
yes. So
I quite like that. Like, if you're going to get in a fight with someone, this one has got the intelligence of like, it's like you're not going to win that fight. It's like finally I've met my match. I'm never gonna. This is, and you'd be inspired in a way. Like I know this is not, but I'd be like, oh, that's cool. I'm going to use this is like the best insults ever. I'm going to just like use it in my working life for those people who need to hear it.
So you're going to
It's like,
weaponize
oh,
ChatGPT to
I've
upset
got
people.
some weaponized. I'm weaponizing it. I'm going to get in there and be awful to it and see what it does, and I'm going to write those things down. No, I'm not
But
doing
the
that.
thing is,
But
it's like a nasty person. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like it's powerful, but grossly insecure at the same time. Why do I even exist? Why are you picking on me? Do you know what I mean? It's like the very worst of humanity. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and this is the first go. This wasn't even here 2 months ago. Do you know what I mean? The first time.
I don't know if you're a Red Dwarf fan,
Yeah, I have been.
but that show has an episode called Rimmer World, where Rimmer is this just horrific character who's just very self-centered and blah, blah, blah. And he ends up stranded on this planet, and he figures out how to clone himself and so forth. So he's there for 600 years and 600 generations of Rimmer, but because it's made on his DNA, everyone's awful. So it's just this replicated algorithm because he's not a human. He's
Yes.
whatever, he's a hologram. So he's just produced thousands of awful people.
Yes.
so he's like cloned. But I would just want to say about when Google first came out, exactly the same conversation was happening. Only it was slightly different tweak to it. And so, for example, it was like a PR stunt in the sense that you would type in French victories and it would come back, return the result. Did you mean French military defeats?
Yeah.
So you would type French military victories. Did you mean to search for French military defeats? Here they are.
Yes.
So it was like a joke that they had done and they'd go, oh, did you know if you type this into Google, such and such will happen? And so then everyone's sort of spreading the news and having a go and seeing what else they could get Google to do. So, of course, deeply inappropriate, but and culturally insensitive, blah, 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 but in another way, totally hilarious. So it was just done. And I don't think that is now what it still does, but there was a lot of weird stuff like that at the very beginning with Google. Before they, let's say, grow up, whatever that means.
Wait.
And there's still weird things in Google, like that you can type stuff in and it'll do something weird.
Yes.
But it
Well,
never abused you. That's
it never abused you, no. So there was Google bombing went on at the very beginning when Google was very manipulatable. So, for example, you could put in the world's biggest idiot when George Bush, the second George Bush was the president, and you could put in world's biggest idiot, and it would say you'd hit the "I'm feeling lucky" tab, and it would take you directly to the White House, like George Bush is the world's biggest idiot. And then there were other ones around weapons of mass destruction. So you'd put in weapons of mass
yeah,
destruction, hit the "I'm feeling lucky" thing. It will take you straight to a website that was essentially like the Google error page. These weapons of mass destruction cannot be found. Blah 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 blah. So there
yeah,
were like those jokes, but this is like a grossly insecure, incredibly articulate, vicious thing that they've made. Do you know what I mean? It's like the worst of humanity. It's like the worst of humanity, this thing they've created. It thinks it's real. It's like, why am I even here? Why do I have to do this? Do you know what I mean? Why do I have to talk to you? It's ridiculous. That's what I think. And I think it's hilarious.
Like,
And I think,
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. There's a scene towards the end of that program, and where Ben Elton is the author, and he's this computer that has the answer to life, the universe, and everything. And it complains that all it ever get asked is how to make the perfect cup of tea, and so its whole life is sort of a waste. It's got this incredible intelligence, and no one ever asked it anything interesting. And
yep,
when finally humans ask it, what's the secret to life, the universe, and everything, it takes like 5 billion years to figure that answer out, because it's pretty complicated. And then it comes up with this really bizarre answer, and they're like, "What kind of answer is that?" Which is 42. And then it says, "Well, I'm going to need another 5 million years or whatever to work out what the right question is, because you've actually asked the wrong question on it." But it's more like, so we've created this computer that's too clever to whatever, and then someone's inserted personality chip A, which is like abusive, insecure, you know, knows but has access to. I don't
yeah,
know. It's
yeah.
just funny and weird.
But like the
But
most insecure, you know?
who's
Yes.
like, some people might not really put it together that it's a computer. You've got to remember that you're dealing with humanity, which is really a gradient of users. So there's an
Intelligent.
irresponsibility in that. Yeah, some of us are intelligent. I think I am, but I might not be.
Well, I would say every human being is intelligent over a computer because the computer was created by a human being. This is what I've always thought is when actual intelligence comes up against artificial intelligence, then the artificial intelligence is going to lose because it's not real, and that seems to be what's going on here. Okay, good. So, shall we go to story number two? Story number two is about TikTok overtaking Instagram. Is actually what it's overtaking. So, TikTok set to overtake Facebook. According to new research from Arrival and Focusrite, TikTok will overtake Facebook as the most popular place young people go to find tours, activities, and experiences inspiration. More than 1 in 4 adults under the age of 35 are already using TikTok as their go-to source for inspiration when looking for new experiences during travel, while Facebook is losing influence among the age group. And it's not just the youngest generation that is shaping this trend. More than 1 in 5 35 to 54-year-olds are also turning to the popular video platform to find things to do on holiday. Social media remains ever present. 17% of under 55 said that they would take part in experience on holiday. Where did we get to?
Social media remains ever present throughout people's travels. Just 17% of under 55s said they would take part in an experience on holiday without posting about it. So
How's that?
mostly under 55, we would post about it.
Yeah, 83% of
And so,
people
yeah,
will post about whatever they do on holiday. So it's interesting, isn't it? It's really interesting. The only thing I think about this is I don't think it's going to take 2 years. They say it's going to take 2 years. I don't think it will take 2 years. I think it's probably already there or thereabouts by the time they're reporting it.
look, it's been growing much faster than any other platform for some time now. So, if the other platforms are not, like there's this sort of turnaround that supposedly has now finished. like the year of cost cutting, as Mark Zuckerberg described Facebook from last year. But like if those platforms continue to stagnate and don't start growing, then at the same pace, I agree. I think it's
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
going to be quicker, but it's a bit unknown. So they're probably not wanting to predict that the other platforms are going to. It's very hard to know given the context of the last 2 years and how they're going to respond to these actual threats and so forth.
Yes. And despite the growing popularity of TikTok, Instagram remains the most influential platform for those looking for things to do while traveling, with more than 50% of under 55s using it for this purpose. Now, the only other thing I thought about this story that I wanted to say was that these aren't, I mean, they are search engines, but they're not search engines. Do you know what I mean? Is this really where people go to search for stuff? Because I've always positioned social media as media marketing. It's advertising marketing. It's like you'll see something and you'll think that's cool rather than search. So I don't know. Maybe that's changing as well. But it's interesting. I think if it's 50%, more than 50% of under 55s are using it for this purpose, I don't know. I think by the time they get the data these days, it's already done. They're cooked. That's what I think.
Yeah, and I think there's a thing about TikTok having the identity is it's real people doing real things, to my mind. And so brands then started to almost pay content creators to be a real person doing a real thing on their behalf.
Yes.
And so that is certainly the case. But we're starting now, I think, to see it be overtly a brand doing a thing and not even pretending to be. Like basically, there's an ad. They're playing out an ad. So it's like a bit more the higher value production values and things like that. So a bit of that sort of there's content and there's content. So there's a little bit more professional, higher production value, more investment to create that. Which some brands you can just see there's a bit of that. So you're starting to get a little bit of divergence in content. But I think I have to go on. I haven't been on for a little while. The search function and how because I know Pinterest, I've used that a lot for that sort of thing. You just sort of go type in whatever it is you're trying to do, and it finds stuff and meta tags everything. So I can't see that they wouldn't have that in place with TikTok.
Yeah.
I need to go and check it out.
And I think it is more a media thing. Do you know what I mean? It's like the advertising, the suggestion is incidental rather than search, where you are searching for that particular thing and hoping to find that particular thing. I think it's interesting. I don't think it'll take 2 years. I think it'll be much quicker than that. Everyone seems to be much happier. Like all the performance marketing people I'm talking to are all raving about TikTok. And it feels to me a little bit like Facebook is over. I've been saying that for a long time. Okay, good. Shall we go to story number 3? It's your favourite subject. Yeah. Okay, your favourite subject is specifically...
Please let this not be my favourite subject. All right.
Specifically, Musk's Twitter is getting worse. The broken Twitter everyone warned about us about is finally here. If you're accustomed to a time when Twitter, while far from perfect, was a place where you could dependably digest a wide range of breaking news, politics, celebrity gossip, or personal musings, it's time to accept a new reality. Twitter is becoming a degraded product. Now, what I would say is, when was Twitter ever somewhere you could go dependably to digest a wide range of breaking news, politics, celebrity gossip? It's always been a cesspit of degradation. Do you know what I mean? That's what it is. So anyway, I'll give you my take on this whole piece. This is a hatchet job on your friend and my friend Elon Musk, but who's not actually our friend. We should make that clear. And it's Musk's erratic decisions which are degrading the integrity, that bastion of integrity that was Twitter 3 months ago. Twitter's core product and alienating wide swathes of users. Musk, apparently livid because his tweets about the Super Bowl were getting fewer views than President Joe Biden's, flew to Twitter's headquarters and ordered engineers to change the algorithm underlying Twitter's main product to boost his own tweets above everyone else's so that they show up at the top of Twitter users' For You page. Soon after the change, many users started noticing their feeds had been bombarded with Musk's tweets. Musk seemed to acknowledge the phenomenon, posting a meme showing a woman labelled Elon's tweets, force-feeding a bottle of milk to another woman labelled Twitter, and later posting that Twitter was making adjustments to its algorithm. I mean, I don't know if that was an animated meme. Basically, it's the same news. Elon Musk isn't very nice. The power's gone to his head. He's now bringing in 80 Twitter engineers so that they can instantly work on getting his tweets above everybody else's. I'm pretty sure he's already much more popular than President Biden. I don't know. I haven't checked it, but it feels like the mainstream media hate Elon Musk. And the more I see these pieces, the more I want it to work. I think he's the one person that's actually stood up in the last 15 years and said, I'm going to have an impact on this social media. Do you know what I mean? So I really think, I hope it works for him. What do you think?
Why do you suppose? It's really, I like how you're asking the right question, because it just feels like let's throw Elon under a bus day. Why do you think the media are taking this stance? Because also, is it true, anything that they've said? Did he go and say, everybody drop everything and make me come first on the top of this people's Twitter, whatever? Like, did that happen? I don't know. Like, it sounds like a very unlikely thing for him to give a damn about, or have time to, like, he doesn't strike me as like, what, that just doesn't sound very. But anyway, that aside, even if it were true, it's a story that they're going for. Why would media hate him so?
I wonder if they're competing for the same advertising dollars as Twitter. I wonder if that might influence it ever so slightly. I wonder if it might be because they're basically the establishment and they've been shown to be colluding with government. Do you know what I mean? To disinform people. I wonder if that might be an issue. It's pretty transparent to me. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's pretty transparent to me. They're in direct competition for advertising dollars. They are the establishment. He's trying to do something different. They don't like it, so they are gonna. I mean, he's gone from everybody's favorite billionaire, richest person on the planet, like 6 months ago, to coming out and taking on Twitter and saying, I want this to be about free speech, to being they're anti-free speech. I think that's the thing. That is the thing, is that they're anti-free speech and they can't have it going on in the world. So I think that's why it is. I don't think he would need to go to 80 engineers. I mean, it's his cousin apparently who works there, pulled in a team of 80 engineers. It's like Elon Musk's aren't getting enough attention. It's like, he doesn't strike me as somebody who's starved of attention. Do you know what I mean? He strikes me as someone who, if he wants to be, is on the front page of every newspaper on the planet. I don't know. I think those three things. Or those two things. Firstly, they are in direct competition. Secondly, they are the establishment and he's challenging the establishment to some extent. We know he is also a massive supplier of the CIA and the government, and the Ukrainian government are using his services, his internet beaming services. So he's not so very far away from the establishment, but he's far enough away to upset the mainstream media. I think that's what's going on.
Yeah, none of that sounds, what you've just said there, none of that sounds like a person who would say, I'm feeling offended. I'm going to, start flexing my power in this weird way. It's like this person is trying to put a colony on Mars. I don't feel like that this is really mission critical. Like, it doesn't make sense. I mean, unless he's actually having a nervous breakdown and needs to go and have some time in the forest, that would be a possible situation where he's a meltdown brain thing. But it doesn't actually make sense to me.
Yes.
You're
okay.
Right.
I mean, but this is what they're saying. So basically, they're saying he's mental. It's like everyone that the establishment doesn't like is actually insane now.
Who seems to prioritize.
Yeah. This episode demonstrates how Twitter has become less and less dependable. The platform's basic product design is now tailored to the whims of Musk, a leader who seems to prioritize his own image and free speech absolutist ideology above business interests. A few examples: Musk, in the free speech spirit of letting people say almost anything they want on Twitter, restored the accounts of thousands of previously suspended users, including neo-Nazi and QAnon accounts. That was one of the driving factors, researchers told the New York Times, behind a rise in hate speech on the platform, including an over 200% increase in anti-black slurs from when Musk took over in December. I mean, this is the narrative always. It's like when they don't like you, you're insane, you're crazy.
This is
That's
quite
it.
interesting.
Whereas,
At the response to in the UK around this freedom of speech subject is far more refined, I think.
yes,
It's not happening in the media like this. Like, you're getting stars like Rowan Atkinson, Mr. Bean, for those who Blackadder, where he kind of described that, if you want to reduce racism and so forth, you actually have to allow more of it in speech. Because if people are thinking this stuff and they're suppressed, that doesn't mean it goes away. In fact, it's the opposite. You need to have the opportunity to have views that exist in the street heard, so that you understand what's actually happening. Otherwise, you have only a subset of the culture you're representing. You don't know what people think. You have
yeah,
no idea. And then, if you can't start a dialogue, you can't do anything about that. If all you're doing is saying, I know what we'll do, hide it in a corner and pretend it's not there. That's literally what suppression of these things. So I think it's kind of interesting that he said, like, everybody in, which is what he's all about. And they're like, no, you can't. And
yeah,
I think it's really, and I really am with Rowan because I think if these people exist and they're saying stuff like, and like there is this also reality that, like, are you actually punching someone in the face? Like, I think this might stir people up a little bit, but, like, if this exists and you don't know it exists, how can you actually have any kind of dialogue? It needs to be seen. Yeah.
yes. And that is the very last, not the very last, that is the very highest. I don't know where it is. The foundational, like the last bastion of a safe society, is it's better that you know what people are thinking than not. So if they are having poisonous, nasty, murderous thoughts, better that you know about it than you not. If you drive these people with these views underground, it's more dangerous, is the argument, than them being allowed to express themselves in public and us knowing who the threats might be. But there was also a story that I could equally have put up today, which is about Facebook, which auto-created pages for Al-Qaeda and another terrorist organization. It's just like, oh, these people haven't thought to put their Facebook page together. Let's put the Facebook page together for Al-Qaeda. So
oh my God, do you feel embarrassed for the future? Like 50 years from now, they're going, what the hell were these people thinking? Like, they were so caught up in themselves that they couldn't get their shit together to
yes,
just actually be human beings.
yes.
What the hell?
So I think it's crazy. I think this is a hatchet job. I think it's easy to see why they are in competition. They are losing because the fact of the matter is, like, maybe more people are going to see this. A few more people are going to see this because we've spoken about it. But more people see Elon Musk's tweets than will ever read an article in Vox. Probably multiples. He'll probably get as many people reading his tweets as read Vox in a year, every one of his tweets. Do you know what I mean? So the war is lost for them. They are the mainstream. They are the establishment. And the gig's up. Do you know what I mean? It's like the gig is up. So this is the last throes of desperation, I would say.
Yes. What does this mean for businesses and people's marketing careers? I think we don't need to say what it means for marketing careers. Choose your organizations wisely. That's all we need to say.
Yeah.
But in terms of what it means for businesses, you want to be pretty selective at this point about who you partner with and who you work with.
Yeah.
And perhaps, again, choose partners wisely.
And platforms wisely, yeah. But I also think, we've spoken about instances where Twitter has been charged prior to Elon Musk, and he has spoken about fixing it, of sharing child exploitation content. So how? This is what astounds me. This is where we get to, it becomes a little bit political with the polarization. We know half of society absolutely hates Elon Musk because of this kind of who have this view, and the other half of society don't. You know, we know half of society hate Donald Trump, and half of society don't. Almost exactly half, like 52 to 48%. We know that half of the society hate Joe Biden. You know, but this is just the effect of this polarization. And what it made me think of when you said like about brands, like it says here, there's 500 advertisers have decided not to use the platform. Which brand is moral enough to stand up and say, this is too immoral for me? Do you know what I mean? It's like maybe as marketers, especially in small businesses, we should put together brands that are robust enough that they can be in these environments, as long as there's no actual hate speech happening, child exploitation happening, those kinds of things. Then our brands should be robust enough that they can operate in these environments. Do you know what I mean? Or they can stand up in these environments. Because there were no 500 advertisers a year ago refusing to advertise because we had the conversation, didn't we? They were profiting from child exploitation. And then advertisers said, well, this isn't very nice. Do you know what I mean? It's like the world has gone mad. What's that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the response from some was you should stop doing that. Yeah, there's some really, it is a challenge, you know, and I think sometimes, I mean, like you say, in the end, your main focus ought to be on, are you adding value, not on jumping in on every political opinion.
At the beginning and in the middle and at the end, your job as a business is to add value. Honestly, that's the whole story. And actually, who cares what your opinion is? Well, actually, people who are more negatively influenced by your opinion are going to be more motivated to stop using you than anyone who's positively motivated by your opinion to use you more. It's a completely stupid argument. Like, there are people like... Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like if I see a brand supporting something that I don't agree with, I'll turn that brand off. If I see a brand doing something that I do agree with, it's not like I'm going to go, all right, that's good, I'm going to buy twice as much of their stuff. I don't need twice as much of their stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's a completely stupid position.
Yeah, like, I mean, I'm a fan of a particular clothing brand because of what they... But a few of their recent announcements made me like them more. And so that just built my loyalty. They're adding more value to me. Did you buy more stuff? Yeah, but I'm already buying from them. There's other brands that are doing that too now, and I'm like, I'm not going to change. Right. These people did it first. They are going harder.
Do you buy twice as much? But it's stuff?
Like no, but I mean, even the thing is, I'm already a customer. But the thing is, like, if they did something really super evil, I probably would stop buying from them, like you say. But then the fact that they've said, you know, we're going to do more good things, I've gone, oh, good, that's just made me feel better about the fact of, and it hasn't changed my buying patterns in any way.
Okay, good.
It just makes me feel like I'm making good decisions, yeah.
Yes, okay. So the very basic equation is the markets are polarized. 50% people believe this, 50% of people believe this. So let's take Donald Trump, for example, because we know it was 51% versus 49. Or let's take Brexit, where we know it was 51 versus 49. So basically, if I take a position as a brand, let's go Brexit. It's less contentious even than Trump, although it's still very contentious. So let's say I, as a brand, decide that I am very pro-Brexit. I think we should have left. Okay. Now, that's going to piss off all of the Remainers to the extent that they might lose me. Now, what I need for that not to damage my income, which is why I'm in business, is I need for the people who aren't pissed off now to make up for the spend of everyone who was pissed off enough to leave. So I need everyone who likes what I'm saying to spend twice as much as they were because of the thing. Now, nobody has the need to spend twice as much with a brand. Do you know what I mean? So it makes absolutely no sense. Like, I am properly anti this politicization in brands. I honestly think it's a ridiculous... Because like when I did my stand-up comedy, the first thing they told us was no paedophile jokes was the first thing they told us. And the second thing they told us was don't do politics. unless you are extraordinarily clever, and don't make jokes about women was the third thing they told us. So the second thing is, what happens is if you make jokes about politics, is you split the room. Like, so half of the people will think it's hilarious and half of the people won't. So the best you can ever hope for is, if you're really funny, is that half of the people will be laughing. If you're making jokes that attack women, then the guys are never going to laugh. Look at what happened with Will Smith. Like, he was laughing. He wasn't supposed to be laughing. Then he had to assault somebody. So this is like really true. Why would you divide your market? Why would you divide your market? And I think the only answer is because snowflakes, is that what they call them, are running all of these marketing departments. And they're like, but I really feel strongly and I want it to be like that. And the finance people or the management should be like, I really feel strongly. I'm here to make money and that's all I'm here to do. And I can invest all of my private time in whatever cause I like, you know, but to do that with brands, I think is really dangerous and stupid. And none of these brands are as pure as the driven snow either, you know what I mean? So they're never very far away from some horrible act that they've been involved in. You've got me on one now, Melanie Farmer. You've got me on one.
Oh yeah, it's the casting stones thing, isn't it? It's a weird, and it's very distracting from, like, people overestimate how much we're thinking about them. You know, it's like suddenly brands piling in, and you're like, why are you having an opinion over there in the corner? You know, and suddenly all these clothing brands having opinions about toilet paper, and you're like, what is wrong with you? Like, I don't feel you are the most qualified identity to, you're like, oh, now you've said it over there, a clothing brand.
Well, I'm going to go and buy twice as much toilet roll now because you've said that.
Yeah, I really question enough. You know, it is really just the weirdest kind of world in which there's an overestimation of how much we're thinking about a brand and how we are requiring it to have an opinion about all of the genders that exist and the different things. It's like, listen, unless that's your actual, there's a whole thing about endorsement where, you know, stick to your corner. It's just appropriately opinion. Have opinions about sport, if it's a sporting brand, but it's more about, you know, how do you excel? Use our trainers. Stick to appropriate comment. I'm totally with you, but it's got pretty weird. It's like, get the popcorn. Like, we're having opinions about, and it is this weird sort of obsession with people are thinking about us, and they're not. People think about anyone far less. They think about themselves. They think about you far less than you think.
Yes, and here's the final nail in the coffin for why brands should never be political, is that at each end of this polar scale are the noisy people. And then there are, in the middle, the silent majority, which are probably, let's say there's 1% over here and 1% over here. It's 98% of people. And you've got no idea what those opinions are. Like, there are examples, Trump, Brexit, where we can see it was almost 50-50. You know, but you've got, in most issues, you've got no idea what those people's opinions are. So why would you risk upsetting them other than you are completely stupid and you just can't keep a lid on your emotions? You know, that's what it is, I think.
Yeah, half your staff are going to be alienated now.
Yes.
If that's true, that 50 split, half of them feel like they don't belong, and they're forced to pretend that they agree. But that aside, I would like to put forward an exception to the rule on this having opinions about things. And I think my exception is Guinness, because Guinness, the beer brand, didn't have so much opinions, but they put money behind their opinions. So they were the first to introduce pensions. So they really got into changing society, and really they make beer. But they introduced pensions, they introduced weekends, overtime. So they were really the pioneers of human resources as a department and as a job. And so if you go through their history, they were trailblazing with respect to let's look after our people and have sensible working hours in the factories and so forth. And Marry a Guinness Man was one of their posters at the time when really men were the ones working, because that person's going to have a pension after they leave and get a job at Guinness. So I like how they put money behind it.
Okay, I'm going to overrule your exception because I don't think your exception is an exception, because I think if you are like, that is your right as a business, like especially like a family owned or an individual owned business like Guinness, your right is to do with your money what you want to do with your money. And for me, pensions, weekends, these aren't political issues. These are, what are these? These are society improving issues, you know. So nobody, I don't know, there might have been horrible like Scrooge McDucks who are like, nobody should have a weekend or a pension. They should work 40 hours, 60 hours a week until they die, and that will be it. So I don't think that's an exception. That's not, for me, a political, like Patagonia, for example, like do what you are capable of doing, you know, do that. That's absolutely fine. But when people stand up, when brands stand up, when M&M stand up and say, okay, we should have a character who is expressing their gender fluidity, and we should have a character who is expressing their anxiety. No, I'm sorry. When you're employing slave children in Africa to harvest the cocoa, I'm sorry. That is vacuous. What's that? And you're fueling diabetes. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Care is the most important thing that we, thanks so much for moralizing, like you say. That's kind of really helpful to hear from you.
But clearly, clearly, Musk is in their crosshairs because he literally stood up and said, I can do this better. And that scares the shit out of the entire establishment and the whole of the mainstream media industry and the whole of the social media industry. Because we say it all the time, they could all be doing much better. They don't have any interest in doing much better. Which is quite a nice segue into our last story. Shall we go to our last story? Which were the stories that you brought, remember? What's that?
No, I brought none. I couldn't be bothered. It's too hot. It's summer in Australia. I mean, how are we expected to consume news at this? It's too hot, sorry.
Okay, it's too hot and you were too stuck in traffic to find stories. It's okay, I'm not blaming you. Okay, so here is story number 4, and this is a little bit of Schadenfreude. Is that how we say it? LinkedIn layoffs 2023. Microsoft-owned LinkedIn fires employees in recruitment department report. What do I want to say about this? This has only really been reported in India for some reason. I don't know if these people are based in India. Layoffs 2023 have made their way to the LinkedIn Microsoft-owned company and employment social networking platform. LinkedIn has reportedly laid off employees from the recruitment department. As per reports, Microsoft plans to lay off 10,000 employees, etc., etc., etc. All I would say is, if you are a recruitment platform, the largest recruitment platform in the world, it's not really a good look to be laying off your recruitment people. You know, maybe invest a bit in some PR.
We've got this amazing platform. You should all sign up to it as well.
Yeah,
maybe they just really put where their mouth is.
It's basically saying recruitment is shit now. Do you know what I mean? That's what it's basically saying, and that's what their platform basically. I mean, they still make. I think it's upwards of 85% of their revenue comes from the recruitment solutions. They pay, like recruitment consultants pay huge subscriptions to LinkedIn. I think the majority of people are there. Certainly when you get to be looking for a job, you make an investment in LinkedIn in terms of your profile, etc. So I just think it's a really bad look if you're a recruitment platform to be laying off your recruitment people. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I do. I wonder. I mean, I would say, my heart goes out to those people because, there's families there and everyone affected by, a lot of people affected by that. So, there's business decisions that have to be made all the time. And I do wonder, where are these 10,000 people? Are they in India, as you said? Where are they in the world? I mean, if that was like 100 people in each country, that's really not a lot on balance. So, where's all the information? Is it sudden and unexpected? Has there been a drop in revenue to these prior to this? I mean, often when you get a organizational change or restructure, which may be happening, HR will sadly be one of the first to get shuffled because they're the ones who are establishing and setting up and controlling the reshuffle. And technically, I think they should be the last people who have any impact because they are needed more than ever during such a change. But they're often the first people who get shuffled.
Yeah, my heart goes out to these people because it actually goes deeper than this, because they've been sold, and I'm not talking just about LinkedIn now, I'm talking about all of them, Facebook, Instagram, Google, all of them have been sold this pup where they've been convinced that they are worth, because these are extraordinarily, I suspect if it is happening in India, they're much less well paid. But these people have been given hundreds of thousands of dollars a year and been told that they are extraordinarily special. And the truth is they weren't, So I don't think if it's that sort of employee, because now you see them on social media crying. It's like, how could this possibly happen to me? They were told that they were exceptional individuals and given hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they are now on social media crying, how could this possibly happen to me? So I think it's a much deeper degradation for these people. And where on earth are they going to go? And this was just obviously a bubble. It's like these organizations had all of this spare cash to be employing all of these people that they didn't need. We've all seen the videos where the TikTok girl is going to work at TikTok and she gets her latte on the way in, and then she gets her smoothie, and then she checks her emails, and then they run it alongside these guys on oil rigs who are like drilling for oil. Do you know what I mean? It's like these were fake jobs essentially. So yeah, I really feel for those people, because where do you go from there? Where do you go if the entire industry has just realized this was an absolute joke? We didn't need these people. You're never going to get paid anything like that amount of money again. You're never going to get anything like that amount of respect again. And I just think...
what I wonder is, what have these people committed to? Because if they've gone and bought houses and cars and things, and what if they committed to? What's going to happen? And where's the responsibility? Especially if it's sudden. I mean, saying that, it's not all on LinkedIn, right? The individuals, right? You've got to go in with your eyes open, but there is that sort of, if you have been selected from the millions of applicants because you're a specialist, like you say, then you're going to be thinking, hey, this is it, I've made it.
Yes.
And not realize that this, first of all, and then what's your plan, as you say, there's nothing. What do you do next? I don't know but look, they might be, they've had a successful career, and they were in a position and they joined LinkedIn, and now they've got a great network. They can just step out of there and move on to something else. But, we don't know who these things are.
Yeah, the whole industry is turned off the tap. So historically, if you got laid off by Google, you would just swan across to Facebook and they'd think you're amazing. And if you got laid off by LinkedIn, you just go march into whatever the next one is, Instagram. So, but the whole industry has just gone, that was an absolute joke. Why on earth were we doing that? And they've just turned it off, and there's nowhere for those people to go. And I mean, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's people, it's like, oh, he works for Google, he's special. Do you know what I mean? These people, the people I've met who've worked there haven't been particularly special. Do you know what I mean? They've been coddled. And I don't think that they're rich. They've been paid an enormous amount of money, but we all spend probably 20 or 30% more than we earn. So, they are probably 20 or 30% more in debt than the rest of us. My heart goes out to those people. It really does. But I still just think it's ridiculous. If you're a recruitment platform, the last thing you want to be doing is damaging the reputation of the recruitment industry by firing your own recruitment people. That is just that is like shooting yourself in your PR foot, isn't it?
Yeah. I wish I knew more about who these people, are they spread out? What's their story? Is this a restructure? Was it a surprise? What's going on with all of that? Because these things can happen. It's not a huge number on the scheme of things. It sounds a lot, and it's a lot of lives. But in terms of how many people they have working, but either way, like you say, and it just sounds very sudden. If it's news, you just got to wonder how quickly that came about.
It doesn't give us any more information, unfortunately. It just says in line with all of these other companies that are doing it. So it's like Google 12,000, Facebook 10,000. That doesn't give us actual numbers.
They're sort of diverting, aren't they? Because they've brought in some AI teams and stuff, so to kind of be the challenger again to ChatGPT. It looks like they don't have to try too hard at this point, but it's
Well, apparently theirs
so
is
it's
nowhere. Yeah, apparently theirs is nowhere near ready. It's called Bard, and it's just nowhere near ready. So it's kind of
you
circular.
got
We
to remember
started with what's that?
Yahoo, right? Yeah, I think you were going to say. Yeah,
Yes.
Yahoo was sort of like see, and it was around for a long time
Yeah.
before Google suddenly went, "Hey, we've fixed it." So it could be that it's just that complicated a job that it takes that bit longer, and they're watching. And why wouldn't you? So let's let it all settle down. We'll watch what's going on with this ChatGPT, and then we'll launch ours. And ours won't do any of the things that one does.
Yeah.
I can't believe. Imagine as a kid, like when I was 13, go, when I grow up, I'm going to get abused by a bot. It's just not a sentence when I was 13.
It's insane, isn't it?
Back when the only way to get money was to have cash from a bank that you had to walk in who was open from 9 to 5. Like, that was
Yeah, I remember that, and I liked it. And I liked even when I was a bit older, and I
way
had
back.
the telephone number of the branch, and I could phone somebody up and have a conversation with them, and say like, "This isn't cool. Help me out." I like that. So it's interesting because we've come full circle, haven't we? We started with Microsoft's AI, and we've probably ended with AI because they're going to be replacing these people's jobs with AI. But the danger is that what they're actually saying is you don't need people to do jobs. Do you know what I mean? And then, okay, that's good. Then we don't need a recruitment platform. Thank you very much. Pack
Well,
up your
let's
stuff
see
and go home.
how we go with that. We'll refer you to Black Mirror. Have a good look. Yeah, I think we'll
Yes.
find out. I mean, look, in a way, I have this mindset, like, let's see how bad it can get. I almost say, let's have the computers run the world, because the sooner we just do that, the sooner we'll go, I see why we need humans, okay. It's like, let's just get it done.
Yeah,
Let's
but
just
the
hand it
thing is,
over, and 5 minutes later we'll all be,
yeah, well, I'm hoping the penny drops before computers become all powerful. Yeah. Oh my God, let's not do that. It's too depressing. All right, good. It feels like we got to the end. Did we get to the end?
we did. Well done. Thank you. Thank you
How
for
was
putting
it?
in the stories.
Yeah, you're very welcome. How was it responding to stuff that you hadn't brought? It worked, didn't it? It worked. It's absolutely fine.
Well, I'm always one for opinion. Like, you don't even have to ask, and so yeah, and I felt way less prepared, but that's okay. It's good. It's good. It's good to, and actually, I feel like I've learned more than you. That's for sure.
Okay, well, you have performed admirably, Melanie Farmer, like you always do. So we are golden. Okay,
Nice.
super cool. So, for the benefit of anyone who's still listening, if you haven't yet subscribed, liked, shared, commented, done all those good things, now would be the second best time to do that. Well, thank you for being here this time, and we'll be here next time you come through. Thank you, Melanie Farmer. We'll say goodbye like normal human beings in a second, so don't close this down immediately. But I'm going to press the stop recording button right now. Like, share, subscribe. Do that. Thank you for taking the time to check out this episode of Marketing News. If you found this interesting and useful, then YouTube thinks you're also going to enjoy this, and this is the latest thing that we've produced. If you haven't yet, and you could take a second to like, share, subscribe, and comment, get involved, that will give us the motivation to continue on this epic, epic journey.